2, 1. Blog Talk Radio.
Don't touch me. I'll beat your brains out.
You believe in miracles? Yes! I mean, you can take a knee and try a 56-yard field goal. This is not Detroit, man. This is the Super Bowl. Let's get ready to rumble.
I'm Sonny Liston. I'm Jack Dempsey. There's no one like me. I'm from Nairclaw. There's no one that can match me. My style is impetuous. My defense is impregnable. And I'm just ferocious. I want your heart. I want to eat his children. Come on, Fraser. Down, going Fraser.
California! Not that game!
Let's talk some sports.
I think that the NFL knows what Randy Moss has done with marijuana, and I think the NFL knows what Randy Moss does with marijuana.
Playoffs? Don't talk about playoffs. You kidding me? Playoffs? I just hope we can win a game. Good morning, and thank you for joining me.
Top of the morning. Those of you already on Facebook Live, the millions listening around the world on Blog Talk Radio, live from Hollywood, California. This is Tough Love, and I am Alistair Conrad. Hopefully everybody is having a great Sunday morning, a start to it. Obviously those in Europe, good afternoon. Can I assume the upcoming World Cup will be covered? Absolutely not, Kyle. My buddy Kyle in Facebook Live is asking if I'm going to cover soccer. Never, actually, on this show will I ever cover soccer. Ever. Let's just be clear. Not a fan. Just not a fan. I love it. I'm sure there's other shows that will, though. I hate to burst your bubble, but the NFL draft just wrapped up, obviously, this weekend, and so I will be covering that most of the show. I want to start with something, though, that I think just needs to be said. Oklahoma City just got bounced by Utah Friday night at the end of the game as Russell Westbrook was leaving the stadium, and it happened at halftime, too. There was a couple guys who were, throwing him shade, and, at halftime, he took offense to it, said something. And then at the end of the game, same guys yelling at him, obviously not saying anything positive. And another dude has his phone, taking video, I would assume, literally an inch from Westbrook's face. Westbrook, I wish he swatted at the phone. I wish he would have caught it and sent it into the 10th row. That would have been epic. But it's one thing to, yell at an opposing player. Obviously, it happens at every sporting event. But it gets a little much when it gets personal. When we're all grown adults, and we are getting wrapped up, and I'm to blame too, there's no doubt, but we get wrapped up in a game that we cannot even control. We hitch our wagon and our emotion to a team that we follow only because it's where we're from, or we have some type of affection to it. But at the end of the day, we have no control over that team winning or losing. So therefore, us getting even remotely emotional about it is sad at the least. And so, sports has an unfortunate way of bringing out the worst in some people at times. And that was an example on Friday night of the fans. It's one thing to be, say something to the effect of maybe not in our house, something like that. But when it gets personal, when it gets real rude and vulgar, it's one thing. I get it. You paid for the tickets. You can sit there and do whatever you want. But at the same time, you're an adult. You're a grown-ass adult. just act somewhat mature. Don't make it just so obvious that you're an idiot. So I wish I'm not a huge fan of Russell Westbrook, but at the same time, I appreciate his game. I appreciate his intensity. And I'm telling you right now, a lot of people were, throwing shade at him for, reacting the way he did to the fans. But I wish he would have even taken it further. In a situation like that, I'm all about sticks and stones. I'm the first one to say, names will never hurt. Say whatever you want. It's your reaction. It's your choice to react however you want. But I would have loved to have seen Westbrook make connection with that phone and just send it 10 rows up. That would have been epic. So anyway, people just pay attention to how you are at a sporting event. There's children around. Don't be a dick. Don't be stupid. You're watching entertainment. For you to get that wrapped up in it, just relax. Jesus. And again, I'm to blame to a degree. I'm 42 now. I possibly would have been like that at 22. Not make an excuse for, age, but with age comes a little bit of maturity and wisdom. This guy, those guys at the game, they looked like they were mid-30s, early 40s, something like that. So, it's just, get over it. Relax. So, anyway, like I said, NFL draft just wrapped up this weekend. I just wonder out loud. Let me cover the Vikings real quick, because obviously I have, a lot of people from Minnesota, being that that's where I'm from, listening to the show. I will say this. The Vikings took Mike Hughes at 30. A cornerback from Central Florida, very, very good. Has some personality issues, which you could make that, case for everybody in the draft, save for maybe a couple. And I really, really liked the pick. Did they miss out on offensive line help? And they still got a dude, in the end of the second round. And who knows how he's going to be. Supposedly he's not NFL ready, but at the same time, it's depth. We'll see what happens. It's a crapshoot, number one. The draft is a crapshoot, number one. Let's be honest. You can't figure out how, a person does or a draft is probably for at least, a year, if not two, down the road. See what happens this year with the players before everybody just is, because so much of it depends on the system that they go to. We've seen that for years. And what's nice is that the NFL is now changing in the sense that they are drafting people to fit their system instead of drafting people and making them fit their system. So that's nice. Finally, they figured that out. So for me, I'm a big Mike Hughes fan. I think he's a really good corner. And for those of you who have listened to this show before, I hate Trey Waynes. He is a terrible cornerback. And let's just be real here for 1 second. Xavier Rhodes wasn't a great corner to start either as a rookie. For the first 6-8 games, most people thought that the Vikings made a mistake. And then he turned it around that second half. Mike Zimmer came in the next year. Next thing you know, Xavier Rhodes is arguably the best shutdown corner in the league. And stats to prove it. Trey Waynes, on the other hand, drafted by Zimmer and company, is now in his 4th year and still is shit. He is terrible, so much so that he got roasted in the NFC Championship 10 of 11 for $180. He's horrible. I've said it for years. And hopefully this to me signals the end, hopefully, of Trey Waynes. And possibly Mackenzie Alexander too. From reports and what I'm getting back and what I'm hearing is that Hughes is going to challenge Mackenzie Alexander in the slot. Terrence Newman is gone. Mackenzie Alexander has not proven himself to be the nickel back that they thought he might be. So they're going to bring in Hughes more than anything to use him as a return man, but I think to give Mackenzie Alexander some push. Now, Hughes played on the outside at Central Florida. All whatever conference that they're in, and did very well. He hopefully is what is going to take over for Trey Waynes too. I would be depressed if they paid Trey Waynes even the 5th-year option on him. Allison, I can't believe you tuned in. I thought you were ignoring me for my Facebook comment the other day. I love you, baby. It's so good to see you. But I hope Trey Waynes is out the door. I hope he's out the door. Because it's the same thing, like I've said before, with Anthony Barr. Anthony Barr is not worth the money that he is going to get. Unfortunately, his size and athleticism, people fall in love with that stuff. And so, to me, I just don't know about, his fortitude, his intestinal fortitude, his want. Trey Waynes, keep in mind, some people are smart, too smart, which makes them stubborn. I'm a good example. I wouldn't say I'm too smart, but I'm stubborn, and sometimes I'm not coachable. I'm just being honest. Those of you who know me and love me most, you know this. Trey Waynes strikes me as a guy who is uncoachable. He thinks he's the smartest guy in the room, and therefore doesn't take to coaching necessarily all that well. Mackenzie Alexander, quite honestly, is the same way too. Everybody, when he came out of the draft, he was a problem child in the sense that he was so cocky, there was very few people who could get to him. Dabo Swinney was one of them at Clemson. He got to him. Mackenzie Alexander played great. Mackenzie is having a hard time transitioning to the league. Mike Zimmer is hard on D-backs. Maybe that's it. Trey Waynes, maybe that's it. Maybe he is just not taking to coaching because he thinks he knows everything. But guess what? He sucks, and he hasn't been able to prove himself to get better this whole time. Hold on a sec. I got a text from the dude saying, stay off my lawn. We should talk about the window that the Vikings have put themselves in, 1 or 2 more years with a huge contract. Why not move up in the second and get that top-level offensive lineman? Okay, so, dude, that's kind of what I'm getting at. In the sense, I'll wrap up Hughes real quick. Hopefully I'll take this to 9:45. But Trey Waynes is not worth the money. Anthony Barr is not worth the money. Hopefully Hughes takes to coaching. He's a cocky kid too. Most cornerbacks and wide receivers are. That's just, you're out on an island. It's mano-a-mano. You have to be cocky to be able to play that position, both the offense and defense, wide receiver, corner. So therefore, you have to be able to have a little bit of, confidence and brashness to you. I'm hoping Hughes is the guy. I hope that's who he takes over. Now, to get to, obviously going into the draft, the Vikings needed offensive line help. At least that's how it looked like from the outside. I went back and I looked at the depth chart for the Vikings. And I have it in front of me right now on a website called Our Lads, OURLADS.com. It's pretty good. It's up to the minute, up to date, except they don't have the kicker that we got on, but who gives a shit? It's a kicker. Here's the thing about the offensive line, and dude, maybe this will answer what we got going on. But as far as offensive line, last year, not only did we get Pat Elflein, who ended up being fantastic and being very versatile, but we also got Danny Isadora. And a lot of people forget that when he played last year in spot duty at guard, he actually did really well, if you remember. And on top of it, you got Mike Remmers, who possibly is going to move into guard. I'm sitting here, look, they got Rashad Hill to step in at tackle if they need, who played very, very well when he needed to, too. You got Nick Easton coming back from injury. There is an argument to be made that possibly you do have enough at the offensive line. Keep in mind, when Laquan Treadwell when he got drafted in the first round, it was pretty much unanimous that everybody agreed Vikings needed wide receiver help. Little did everybody know Stephon Diggs and Adam Thielen would end up doing what they did and being what they are. And so we got Laquan Treadwell, and all of a sudden everybody's ragging on him because he's not starting, but yet you got Adam Thielen and Stephon Diggs, who are, arguably the best wide receiver duo in the league, but we didn't know that going into that draft. If that's a fair assessment and argument. The same thing, it seems like, happened this year. We were thinking, okay, obviously we need offensive line help. I'm looking at offensive line on the depth chart versus cornerback depth chart. And quite honestly, we are in a better position offensive line than we are at corner because, like I say, Terrence Newman is no longer here. I think he retired or they didn't pick up his deal. Mackenzie Alexander, struggling. Trey Waynes, he's probably the worst cornerback that I've ever seen next to, maybe another Vikings corner back in the day. I don't know. He's shit, and everybody agrees. He's terrible. So, cornerback possibly was the most important position. Now, keep in mind, the Vikings did get Brian O'Neill at the end of the second. Tackle from Pitt. He is like Nate Solder, Colton Miller from UCLA, who went to Oakland. He's long, he's athletic, he just needs a little bit of schooling. Keep in mind, the guy's a second rounder. Second rounders have first round talent. They're just second rounders because they need a little bit of this, a little bit of that. So the guy, it's not like he's, a seventh round guy. But with that said, again, Vikings needed cornerback help really, really bad. Trey Waynes is hopefully not going to be here. Who knows about Alexander if he's going to be here. So Mike Hughes is a really, really, really good pick. He's a stud. As long as he can keep his nose clean off the field, he is a stud. So anyway, that's already 15 minutes gone. This is I really need to have like a 17-hour show when I'm talking about like NFL and NFL draft. But I want to move on because we don't have that much time. I've got like maybe 15 minutes left on Blog Talk. I could go all day on NFL or on Facebook Live. I could do that, but let's move on. As far as the rest of the draft, do you possibly think somewhere, Joe Thomas is just shaking his head, so satisfied that he actually retired? With what the Browns did in the draft? I got to see real quick Dude's response. Dude is the dude, and it's important to me, so the rest of you can just chill out for 1 sec. Fair point, only counter is we have a guaranteed contract behind center that needs good to great players. Absolutely. You know what? And again, I go back to possible Danny Isadora, Nick Easton, Rashad Hill, this O'Neal cat that they just got. The Vikings, barring injury and Remmers moving inside, interchangeable parts that possibly, could work out really well. Elflein missed some time last year. Easton missed some time last year. Obviously, to me, a guy like Will Hernandez, who went to the Giants, just a road grader in the sense of like David Dixon of the Vikings of the past. I would have loved that. Just a beast of a man who's nasty, who's just mean. I would have liked that. But you know what? It's a crapshoot. Like I said, it remains to be seen what happens. Yet at the same time, I like cornerback Hughes. Now, something, and I'm so glad I just remembered this. Xavier Rhodes, and I just want to throw this out there because I'm a big Mike Zimmer fan. But something to keep in mind, and maybe something to just toss around, agree with it or disagree. Xavier Rhodes was drafted by Leslie Frazier and Spielman and company. He obviously, the next year after Frazier was fired, Zim came in and made Rhodes into, I think, what he is. And Rhodes, I'm pretty sure, said that as much the other day on the NFL Network. But Zimmer is known to be a defensive back guru. Trey Waynes was his pick. Mackenzie Alexander was his pick. And they both suck. So, I like Zimmer, but it's something to think about. Are they good at evaluating? Obviously they let Marcus Peters slide, or they grabbed Trey Waynes instead of Peters. So I just throwing it out there. Is Zimmer, he struck out twice on corners. Hopefully third and Hughes isn't, isn't the strikeout, isn't the third. But anyway, moving on. The Browns, so the NFL draft, the first round was fascinating. When's the last time you could ever remember that the first pick of the draft wasn't known going into it? I mean, we all had thoughts that, the Browns were probably going to take Sam Darnold. You knew that they were going to take a quarterback, which, by the way, I'll get to in a second. A month and a half ago, I said on this show, Saquon Barkley is just the ideal pick. Now, I looked at their depth chart too, Cleveland, and they got holes everywhere. It's not like they're winning the Super Bowl, right? I mean, comparatively to the Vikings are in a luxury position of being able to just, we'll take this guy and, cultivate him, whatever. Cleveland Browns, they need plug and play guys, 100%. But they end up taking Baker Mayfield, who I like. I like Mayfield. I like his, his excitability. I like his just brash attitude and his willingness to, fight and get down. I don't care about his height. I love his accuracy. That's important. Here's the deal. Even in fantasy football, sometimes you outthink yourself. Like, you're on the clock and all of a sudden, you go into it, you got your notes and you're thinking, I'm going to do this. And then you're on the clock and, you brain fart. And all of a sudden you do something that, you look back and you're like, God damn it, shouldn't have done that. Whereas the NFL draft is so much more pressure. And you go in and supposedly Dorsey, the GM for Cleveland, is like, I wanted Mayfield the whole time. Well, if that's the case, you could have got him at 4. I just don't understand, why everybody knew you're going quarterback, right? So why not go quarterback, especially if you wanted Mayfield, a guy who at the start of the whole process was late first round, and then all of a sudden there was talk about, Miami really likes Mayfield, and they pick around 11 or whatever they are, and maybe you could see that, and then Cleveland all of a sudden takes Mayfield number 1. Let's lay it out a different way. Let's say Cleveland took Barkley, right? Like I said they should have a month and a half ago. Take Barkley because, I'm sorry, they got Nick Chubb in the second round. Nick Chubb is the exact same thing as what they got in Carlos Hyde right now. Carlos Hyde might even be better, which isn't saying much. So you could have had an opportunity to have Saquon Barkley, a 3-down back, a guy who can catch, pass block, run obviously very well. You have an offensive line that you put together last year in free agency that is really, really good. So you could have taken Barkley, solidified your running back position. At number 2, the Giants, who supposedly all the time were going to take Barkley because they knew Cleveland was taking a quarterback. So they knew that they were going to get Barkley. But all of a sudden now Barkley's gone. I have a feeling the Giants would have went Bradley Chubb because they needed, they got Oliver Vernon, who's decent at pass rushing. But aside from that, they don't really have, Jason Pierre-Paul, I think that's his name. Yeah, JPP went to Tampa Bay, so he's gone. They needed a DN. They would have taken Chubb. The Jets still would have taken Sam Darnold. They still would have taken him. They were thrilled that Sam Darnold slipped to them. So you could have had Mayfield at 4 if you wanted him. You could have had Saquon Barkley, Mayfield, you know what I'm saying? And then bam! So all of a sudden at 4, you get Denzel Ward when everybody was thinking you're going Chubb. And I get it. Surprise. The element of surprise is great. Well played. But at the same time, this is what I was talking about when you outthink yourself in fantasy football draft. There's times where I'm like, what did I do? What'd I do? It's all clear after the fact. And there's no way the Cleveland Browns looked at this and thought, after the fact, this is exactly what we want. You could have had Saquon. Think about this. You had the first and third pick, Cleveland did, in the second round, right? So they could have taken Saquon Barkley at 1. You got Chubb off the board, Darnold off the board, right? And then you could have ended up getting Roquan Smith because you need linebacker help. You still could have got Denzel Ward, but you could have traded back up, at I don't know, 10, something like that, and gotten Baker Mayfield if you wanted. Or guess what? He probably would have been on the board after that, because guess what? Denver, yeah, they get Chubb, whatever. I said a month and a half ago, Quentin Nelson's going to Indianapolis. You need offensive line help there. You had to. There's no way they were going defense. Sure enough, they get Quentin Nelson. Bills move up. They get Josh Allen. They didn't want Mayfield. They were going Josh Allen, big, strong, burly dude for Buffalo. Sure, makes sense. Chicago's got their quarterback. San Fran got their quarterback. So Arizona, who wasn't at 10, by the way, they traded up. And it's just like, Cleveland, you are idiots as usual. I hope, I never wish anything bad to happen, obviously, to anybody. But, and I want Mayfield to do well. Like I say, I like Mayfield. But to do what you did, it's just, all of it just doesn't make sense. There's a lot of things in the draft that didn't make sense to me. I will say this. Let me digress real quick. What's amazing is 5 quarterbacks were selected in the draft in the first round. All 5 are going to be backups. To me, that's how it should be. I think that a quarterback coming into the NFL shouldn't have to start right away. There's situations where, yes, it works out well, Deshaun Watson, but that's really kind of, taking the league by storm. RG3, what happened in the second year. Everybody catches up a little bit. And so I think being able to sit is a good thing. But in our society, everybody wants, instant gratification. What happens? How quick is the leashes on A.J. McCarron, Cade McNown, who else? Obviously, Tyrod Taylor, Sam Bradford, and Joe Flacco. How short are the leashes now on these guys with fan bases who don't understand that a quarterback it's not a good thing to just throw him to the wolves, but a lot of fans don't get it. They just want, if a quarterback like Tyrod Taylor, if he starts struggling in Cleveland, after week 1, if he goes 15 of 32, which is very Tyrod Taylor-esque, for $160 and a couple picks, they're going to be pining for Mayfield. And that's going to be the same everywhere. It's going to be fascinating to see how quickly it's going to end up, the quarterbacks who got drafted in round 1 are going to end up playing. I'm telling you right now, and imagine this. Imagine you're dating, and you see a really hot girl. And then you see a girl who's got potential. Not, whatever. If you had the option, you're going to take the hot one. That's 9 times out of 10. You're going to take the hot one. Don't argue. That's just the way we are. So I don't get why Josh Rosen, everybody says most NFL ready, best NFL arm talent. He's got the measurables. He's super smart. Heaven forbid you want somebody who's smart, who can study a playbook and really get into it. Heaven forbid. But if Josh Rosen was the most NFL ready, why doesn't Josh Rosen go first? What is the issue? I don't understand. I get potential. But when you are drafting number 1 or 7 or 4 or 5, whatever, why? I don't understand. This is the same thing that happened to Aaron Rodgers. Same thing. The guy's really good. He's got great arm talent. It's a little too cerebral. The guy's a little too smart. What happened to him? He slides. And the next thing you know, he's arguably the best quarterback in the league. I said it a month and a half ago. I've said it for a while, actually. Ever since October or November, when UCLA played USC and Josh Rosen made Sam Darnold look terrible. It wasn't even a contest who the better quarterback on the field was. And yet Sam Darnold in everybody's eyes is, oh no, he's going to be better. What is wrong with people? Josh Rosen just went to the Arizona Cardinals, who's got Larry Fitzgerald and David Johnson. Yeah, I mean, obviously Sam Bradford is there. I wish the best for Sam Bradford when he's healthy. He's very good.
10 seconds.
10 seconds left on Blog Talk. I don't know if they're going to cut me or not. I haven't even seen if anybody's tried to call in. I'm sorry. I've been rambling for a half hour. I'm out on Blog Talk. Maybe. We'll see. But for whatever reason, they've let me go for like 15 minutes afterwards. And I'm just going to roll with it. I don't care. Once they kick me off, they kick me off. But with Josh Rosen, I don't understand. I don't understand why, if a guy is just NFL ready, he's by far the most NFL ready quarterback, why he doesn't go first. Now keep in mind, I don't want him to go to Cleveland or to Buffalo. I don't. I really believe he would have been good at either New York team, Giants or the Jets. Therefore, and quite honestly, I know I said the Giants would have taken Chubb, too, if Barkley went to the Browns at 1. There was a possibility that if Barkley was gone, how much you want to bet Gettleman and company and the GM of the Giants and in that war room, they possibly would have taken Rosen. I think Rosen would have been the same situation almost as Rodgers and Favre. Rosen would have went to New York. Eli said he wants a couple more years. They probably would have given it to him. Let Rosen, cultivate, and Rosen's going to be the best quarterback out of this draft. I guarantee it. I said it months ago, especially when he just showed up Darnold and made him look just not even like he belonged on the same field. Not even on the same field. Couldn't even believe it. I'm telling you right now, Rosen's going to be the best. And I love people who argue, no, he's too smart. Yeah. Oh, heaven forbid. Heaven forbid you got a guy who's too smart, because you want a stupid quarterback, right? You want a guy who just, Ryan Leaf. You want a Jim Druckenmiller, a guy who's just, he'd rather smash beer cans on his head. No. I'm sorry. I'll take the guy who goes to UCLA, who's got, a very high IQ. Aaron Rodgers, Cal Berkeley. Oh, no. I'll take that guy. Thanks, though. Shocking. Blah, blah, blah about that. I'm shocked at Tampa Bay. Anybody... Oh, and real quick, before I get to Tampa, and I'll end this eventually. But I love how the NFL, and sports in general, but the NFL especially, it's such a copycat league, and all of a sudden you see these trends that take place. Tennessee possibly... started the whole running back renaissance, if you will, with DeMarco Murray and Travis Henry, and just being smash mouth football, playing good defense. And all of a sudden you've seen lately Todd Gurley, Ezekiel Elliott, Leonard Fournette, just this infusion, of the running back again. Running back. Alvin Kamara, Mark Ingram, Dalvin Cook, even last year, Latavius Murray, Jerick McKinnon. All of a sudden, Jay Ajayi and LeGarrette Blount. All of a sudden, you're seeing a reemergence and a change of the football, the running game again, which I love. I love the running game and I love defense. But you see two picks that really signify the changing of the guard. Cleveland, even though I'm not a huge fan of Nick Chubb, especially when you could have had Saquon Barkley. But Cleveland takes, what is this dude's name? Hold on a sec. Austin Corbett in the first pick of the second round. Big guard, nasty dude, like a Will Hernandez kind of, a little bit more athletic in the second. And then the pick right after that, the Giants take Will Hernandez. A big, just run blocking, raw type of, bulldozer guy. I feel as though those two picks, along with what's happening, especially in Dallas and, especially Jacksonville, teams are going back to running the football, playing good defense, just smashing the ball down. Cleveland now, you've got Carlos Hyde and Nick Chubb, two bruising running backs, and now an offensive line up front that is so solid with last year's free agency and the addition of Colbert, and trying to think the other dude. But and then the Giants gained Will Hernandez, got Nick Soler from the Patriots. A real just like, oh, let's impose our will and run the football. Saquon Barkley is going to be a really good fantasy guy this year. They're going to give him the ball a lot. He'll probably have 300 touches or more this year. So I like that fact. I love the fact that people are doing that. I'll end it in just talking about a couple quick topic things. I mentioned the Bucs. The Bucs were slotted at number 7. This is, to me, there's certain things that happen during a draft that I don't know if it's the pressure that gets to some of these GMs or what happens, but you know, you look at it in real time and you just sit and wonder, like, what the hell are they thinking? Tampa Bay had the 7th pick. They every mock draft in the world basically had Derwin James going to them, safety from Florida State. Can't miss prospect. Jalen Ramsey, all-pro corner at Jacksonville from Florida State, said this is the best player in the draft. Obviously, he's an old teammate. He's going to say that type of stuff. But you watch tape, Derwin James, he is really, really good. And Tampa Bay trades back. Obviously, the Buffalo Bills move up to 7, trade with Tampa Bay, get Josh Allen. Tampa Bay moves back to 12. Derwin James is still on the board. So they got extra draft picks to move back, and the guy everybody thinks they're going to take because their second defensive secondary is shit. They're like, oh my God, Derwin James is still there. Keep in mind, offseason, they got Vinnie Curry from Philly, and they got Bo Allen from Philly, ironically, to shore up the D-line to play alongside Gerald McCoy. So defensive line, and they got Jason Pierre-Paul. So defensive line, they're like, their defensive secondary still sucks. And what do? They get Vita Vea, whatever. D-tackle, Washington. Now, don't get me wrong. Everybody, this could be the next Haloti Ngata, however the hell you pronounce his name. From Baltimore. Really, really good D-tackle, and pair him next to Gerald McCoy, rock and roll. But you already got Bo Allen and Vinnie Curry to solidify the D-line. Nothing against Vita Vea, but you could have had Derwin James, and you just are like, what happens? 4 picks later or 5 picks later, San Diego Chargers, who ironically had 2 safeties leave for free agency. They're still trying to figure out, what should we do safety wise? And Derwin James falls to the Chargers at 17. I'm just like, Chargers outside of the Cardinals. Chargers won the draft lottery because of the stupidity of the Bucs front office. I mean, the Bucs, I don't even know what. I gotta see real quick. I wanna, and maybe it's just me. I'll talk on this thing for the rest of the day. I don't even care talking football. I got an assignment to do for my school too, but I have to see Tampa Bay. I just gotta see if they actually did something in the draft to shore up the deep backfield. Okay, so they got Carlton Davis. Oh, okay. I think he's an Auburn corner. I think that's, okay. Yep, Auburn corner. Yeah, whatever. Not bad. But that's all you did. That's all you did. You had nothing to do with the safeties, who suck. You got two corners. Whatever. It's that situation. And then, at 14, all of a sudden the New Orleans Saints move up from 27. Give away the first round pick for next year to whoever the hell they traded up at 14. I can't even remember. Oh, the Packers! Goddamn Packers! They move up, the Saints, everybody, thinking, oh wow, this is Lamar Jackson. This is where Lamar Jackson goes. And they get the Davenport kid, the DN from University of San Antonio, Texas, or something like that. And don't get me wrong, the kid's got, he jumps off the screen on tape, which is fine. But the kid's just, like, you gave up a first round pick for this kid, your next year's first. This kid better be shockingly good. Shockingly good. I mean, that Packers, by the way, Packers did really well. 2 great corners. The Bears did exceptional in this draft. If you're a Vikings fan and looking around the NFC North as to what the other teams have done, both of those teams did very well. The Lions didn't do too bad either. Last but not least, Lamar Jackson. I'm not the smartest guy in the room. I'm not. All I know is that a running quarterback has never won the Super Bowl. Ever. And Michael Vick, the success that he had, great. Guess what? Yeah, he went to prison, but he also got hurt. Why? Because he's small and he ran the football all the time. Cam Newton can get by with that. He's 6'5", 260 pounds. Michael Vick was 6 foot, like a $195 or 200. Lamar Jackson is scintillating. There's no arguing his tape from college. He's so electrifying with the ball in his hand. He's so fun to watch. It's awesome. Way to go. But for Baltimore to move up, and I don't know if it's just Ozzie Newsome wanting to make a ripple for his last draft or not, but to move back into the first round, to get Lamar Jackson, not only is that putting undue pressure on Joe Flacco, who quite honestly might need a kick in the ass, but at the same time, you already got RG3 in this offseason. You seem to be making a shift offensively, schematically offensively to Lamar Jackson, which, if you remember, teams try to do fancy, change it up shit like the Dolphins and the Wildcat. How long did that last? Before the NFL defenses were like, that worked for a little bit. Guess what's not going to work anymore? Lamar Jackson can't hit the broadside of a barn. His accuracy is terrible. And I don't care if you're black, white, running quarterback, pocket passer, doesn't matter. If you can't hit the broadside of a barn, if you don't have accuracy in the NFL, you're not going to make it. You will not make it. I'm sorry. You don't have to run around. Everybody's talking about, he's a little, immobile in the pocket. And I'm obviously not talking about Lamar Jackson, just in general. He's kind of immobile. So is Tom Brady. So is Ben Roethlisberger, but they're smart in the pocket. They move just enough to make it happen. Everybody said, Deshaun Watson had... Lamar Jackson and Deshaun Watson aren't even close to the same quarterback. Deshaun Watson ran when he had to. Deshaun Watson wasn't running the football on average 20 times a game. That doesn't correlate to the NFL. How dumb are these GMs? I just don't, and don't get me wrong, I'm not saying Ozzie Newsome is dumb. I just don't understand how many examples you need to see that the NFL, once you get to the NFL, everybody runs a 4-4. Everybody runs a 4-5. There's defensive ends who run 4-5 and 4-6. Everybody, when Reggie Bush came out of USC, he was insane. Everybody, oh my God, Reggie Bush. He gets to the NFL, he's just another Joe. Another Joe. He can't outrun people. He can't juke people. He had a nice run. Don't get me wrong. He had a nice career. But he wasn't Reggie Bush at USC. That's the same thing. And nobody understands that the college game is still, if you have the best players, if you have the best athletes, generally you're going to win. The difference in the pros is everybody has the same athletic ability. The mind separates you in the pros. If you can't hit a broadside of a barn in college, a la Sam Bradford, Sam Darnold, Josh Allen, Lamar Jackson, what makes you think all of a sudden they're going to start, hitting players, getting better accuracy in a league that moves faster and the better athletes? That's why I'm just not a fan of Darnold. I'm not a fan of Josh Allen. And Darnold was a turnover machine at that. Not only inaccurate, but, turnover, I think, 22 times last year. Josh Allen, he's got a 55% completion percentage or something like that. 53 at Wyoming. You know, Lamar Jackson, I'm sorry. This isn't a slam against a running quarterback. It's just in college that you can get by with that stuff. That's why you can't run a wishbone in the pros. At Nebraska in the 80s, it worked. It doesn't work in the pros. I'm sorry, you can't take the best college football of all time, Nebraska of 96 or 95, and translate that to the NFL. Lamar Jackson is what he is in college. A phenomenal athlete and just so fun to watch. But it doesn't translate to the NFL. And if Baltimore thinks that they are going to change up their offensive scheme, you're crazy. I'm off on Blog Talk finally. Extra 15 minutes. I appreciate it. So anyway, that's my take. I'll never understand. No offense to Lamar Jackson. He's great. Collegiately. That's where it ends. So anyway, hope you guys, thank you so much, obviously, for joining in. I love you guys. Those of you new to Facebook Live who stopped in, thank you so much. This has been Tough Love. I'm Alistair. Hope you guys have a great Sunday fun day. I will see you next Sunday. Drive fast, take chances. I'm out.